What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, not one, but two wide receivers over 24 hours seemingly available for the black and gold. We're diving into the frustrations of Terry McLaurin and Jauan Jennings, plus one insider announcing and detailing why the Pittsburgh Steelers are not done yet. It's a good one here in good old Williamsport, Pennsylvania for me. Just traveled last night from the good old Berg. Let me tell you, it's the smoothest drive. A lot of farmland, a lot of nothing. Williamsport's cool. It has a Sheetz. It has a Wegmans. That's all it's got. But it is a good place, and Creed's tomorrow, so there are no cares in the world on this side. How you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling good, man. I was hoping maybe you were suiting up for the Little League World Series this year with a quick little stop in Williamsport, but
Next month.
I don't know. I think if you slipped them the bench warmers like I am 12 sort of thing, you might be able to pass. I think I would believe it. But man, I'm good. I'm excited for you. I know how excited you are to see this concert tomorrow. So
Yes.
It brings me great joy to see my friends having a good time. But I'm doing good, man. And again, I feel like I say this every couple of days. Just when I think the drama's done,
Yep.
the Steelers sucked me right back in. And here we are again talking about more drama surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers and maybe some moves to make. So I'm excited, man. Happy to be chatting Steelers with you as per usual.
Me too. Me too. It just you know what they say, man. Right when I got out, you pull me right back in. That is the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'll hit you with another one. So we got Creed tonight or tomorrow, which announcement to everybody. People are going to be upset about this. I apologize. Tomorrow's episode will be pre-recorded, but we do have a pretty fun interview that we will be launching with the episode. So I'm pretty excited for that one. It'll be a good time, but we will pre-record it, drop it at normal 4 p.m. Eastern time, and then we'll be back on Thursday as usual. The call-in show will still be there, so shout out to all our members. Make sure you're calling in. We're going Zach Bryan on Friday as well as Creed. I don't think I could do anything for a year after that because, fun scale is already maxed out, but I am pretty excited. Let's talk about some excitement with the Pittsburgh Steelers, my friend. We'll start with the guy that we have ruled out that has crawled his way back in here. And every time we've been asked about him, we've said it may not be very realistic. And maybe we feel the same way. We'll dive into that here in a second. But good old Terry McLaurin has made headlines for openly being pretty frustrated with the Pittsburgh Steelers, or not with the Pittsburgh Steelers, with the Washington Commanders, potentially opening the door for a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have made splashes this offseason, who continue to make moves that are unprecedented and at the same time definitely shocking. Maybe they're open to a move for Terry McLaurin, and maybe, just maybe, the door is open. Terry McLaurin jumped on or spoke with reporters today, actually, and this is what he had to say.
Yeah, I've been pretty frustrated. I'm not gonna lie. Everything that has transpired up to this point is just been disappointing and frustrating. I've wanted to continue my career here. I've created my life here. My wife and I have bought our first home here, so this has been somewhere where I've always wanted to be. And yeah,
Terry McLaurin, a name that once again we've shut down many times. Obviously wants to stay in Washington. That's the professional way to say, hey, I'm pretty upset right now, but I do hope that it works out. A lot of times this stuff does work out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Do you take this as a sign of maybe the door is open for Terry McLaurin to get out of Washington? And if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, do you think that that's a real possibility that you'd go after him?
I had the door slammed shut on Terry McLaurin. I had the padlock sort of gated up, maybe put an extra lock on there for safe measures because I thought this was such an outlandish sort of idea. There's no possible way.
Yeah.
Hearing a player pretty openly speak about his frustrations with the negotiation process while, training camp was about to begin. It it undid some of those locks. It kind of took down one of those padlocks. It made me look at that door and think, maybe it's not open yet, but I in a million years until this morning would have never thought that we could have pried it open. But now I feel like there's a possibility that that door could be open. So I'm not quite there yet. I don't think it's realistic still. I hate to be such a pessimistic person, especially on this like pretty cool development, because again, the possibility was non-existent for me.
Yes.
There was no point in wasting my time even thinking about it. But now, I don't know, Scary Terry on the opposite side of DK Metcalf. I think maybe you have to just go up to the door now and just see if you could just pry it open real quick. Because if there's an opportunity to strike, it might be right now.
I agree. Like if the Steelers are going to wait it out, they're going to miss this because teams
Mhm.
are either going to get really aggressive and it's going to get bad, or Terry and Washington's going to come to some sort of agreement. But remember the last time that we were talking about a wide receiver that is openly frustrated and potentially looking for an out. And everybody said, nah, there's no chance the Steelers don't make moves like that. They're not going to make this move. Well, he ended up in Pittsburgh shortly after all of this emerged and signed a massive deal. Terry would have to do the same thing. I think that's a holdup in this situation. Would you be willing to sign Terry McLaurin to a big contract and have him both with DK Metcalf, probably looking at $30+ million a year?
Yeah, and that is where, as much as I want to just kind of dive head first into this and do a complete 180 on the whole situation, the reality, as you point out, is that they will have to invest north of $60 million in this top duo of wide receivers in this hypothetical.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with that. I think I think that Scary Terry would be an excellent addition. I would love to have him strictly for 2025 season. I would not like him to come in and then also pay him an extension similar to the one DK Metcalf got when he arrived in Pittsburgh. I so no, I'm not willing to spend 30 million plus a year on him. And that is really just what holds me up when I get a little bit further down the road about this whole Terry McLaurin trade talk, because I cannot see the Steelers paying $60 million for two wide receivers, or that's being really the key to a Super Bowl more than improvements in other areas and some other positions we've talked about before. Would you do that?
I don't know. I'd have such a hard time with it. Like, I'd want TJ to get signed first, and then that makes things even more complicated. You already went out for Jalen. Like, at some point, you are putting yourself in a cap bubble that is going to explode, and it's not going to work out in your favor. And when does that explosion happen? That would be my question. Because if it happens 3 years from now, you're in a lot of trouble because you're in prime win a Super Bowl window with a new quarterback that's a first round guy that has a team around him that's a veteran enough to get you there. And could work out. But if you lose everybody in the meantime, you're Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, and you have one shot. And if you don't make that shot work, you're done. And I don't know if that's worth it,
Mhm.
for a right now situation. And while Terry McLaurin's a stud, I don't know if the risk reward, both short term and long term, or are worth it. And I think to me, that pulls me back. Now, if you go back 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and the Steelers don't have DK Metcalf, I'm all over this move. There's no questions to it. Go get Terry McLaurin. Don't hold back. Pay him to the extension and have Terry McLaurin. Have a guy who is clearly one of the best wide receivers in the NFL and seems to be only getting better year after year. Have the guy that for Aaron Rodgers right now is a stud, and then for the guy that you're going to draft is even better. I think that makes so much sense. But I think DK could be that guy, and I feel good about DK being that guy. I don't know if I'm paying two
Mhm.
wide receivers that much money. It's the George Pickens thing. Like, you weren't going to pay George that much money. I'd have a hard time feeling like you're going to pay Terry. Things could change, and I wouldn't be shocked by it. I don't think there's any chance they trade for him for without signing him to an extension. Last question that I got
Mm.
before we bring up the other wide receiver here is, what would you, if the Steelers were to pull this off and Omar Khan called you tomorrow and said, this is happening, whether you like it or not, What are you giving up for Terry McLaurin?
It would have to be at least a second round pick, of course, our biggest bargaining chip in all of the NFL, a second round pick. And I think here's where I struggle. Whether this is, received positively or negatively or not, it might even be a normal take. I don't really know. You tell me. But like, I think Terry McLaurin is far and away a better wide receiver than DK Metcalf. And I think the stats kind of back it up over the past couple of years. I think when you look at kind of subpar quarterback play that both have had to deal with the exception of last year for Terry McLaurin, like it all still balances out. McLaurin has 5 straight 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
So I think Terry McLaurin is an objectively better wide receiver than DK Metcalf. So because of that, I would be willing to give up a little bit more for him. That being said, it seems outrageous to me that if the Steelers were to have given up a second round pick for DK Metcalf, made him a top 5 highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, and then didn't give up, and then went and did it again plus something to get another wide receiver to make him also a top 5 paid wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think that would make any sense. I think that could be a cause of concern or contention within the locker room too. And I think it would just not be worth it overall. I think you would just end up giving up way too much, spending way too much, and not getting enough back for it. So yeah, I think I talked myself out of it.
If you paid Terry McLaurin before paying TJ Watt, his price tag continues to go up. And it would be an issue because that's the issue with DK. That's where all of this started. That's where the peace sign came into play, was the Steelers traded for and paid a boatload of money for DK Metcalf and said, oh, TJ, damn, we forgot about you, and that's you can't do that again with Terry McLaurin. You can't. There's another wide receiver, though, who's also a little bit unhappy, looking for a potential trade. And according to Adam Schefter, the word trade is out there. This is not, I want to spend the rest of my career in San Francisco and play with Brock Purdy and blah, 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 me and my wife. No, this is, I want to get out of here to whoever wants to pay me the most money. And that is Jauan Jennings from the San Francisco 49ers. People will bring up a lot of things and say, oh, he's only an inside guy. You already have inside guys. There are arguments to be made. I dove into a little bit of Jauan Jennings tape. Okay. Mm-hmm. This dude's got incredible hands. His vision and his body control is great. He's got a ton of strength. He's got speed. People overlook his speed, but this guy can get in front of a corner and stay in front of a corner. I mean, to me, Jauan Jennings is a guy that you could make sense in Pittsburgh. And if he's open, probably doesn't come with much of a price tag on how much you have to pay him. When you saw it, what were your thoughts on Jauan wanting a contract and potentially out of San Francisco?
I have 2 sort of competing thoughts here. One, it would probably take less to get him compared to some of the other high-end wide receivers we've talked about on the trade market, the Chris Olaves, the Terry McLaurins, etc. Jauan Jennings, I think, comes in a little bit of a slot below those people, which would only benefit the Steelers in a possible trade scenario. The other competing thought is similar to the sort of problem I have with the Terry McLaurin situation is how much money do you actually have to pay Jauan Jennings to sign him to a long-term deal? It's
what do you think that number is? What do you think
it would have to be $20 million or plus, right? Like, or am I?
Yeah, but it's
crazy?
Probably not more than that, right? Like, you don't think?
No.
Like, I would cap it at like 22, maybe 23 if he gets really lucky. But I would say it's about the 20 mark, north of the 20 mark. But it could be 20. Like, I think 20 is a realistic number, right?
I think 20 is digestible for sure. But I think, again, like now we're splitting hairs. And as far as I'm concerned, between, we have $53 million invested in our wide receiving core compared to 65 if we had Terry McLaurin, for example. I think when we're looking at this, I think I agree with you. One, with just the assessment, he's a great wide receiver, and I think I am probably a little bit higher on him in terms of how he would fit into the Steelers offense this year. Yes, he is, I guess, more of an inside guy, but I don't see that as a problem if you were to bring him in, because that just guarantees you have a slot wide receiver, and I think that guarantees that you could put Calvin Austin on the outside, which I think might be a move that could only help him as well. And I don't think that limits Jonnu Smith or Pat Fryermuth's ability within the offense either. So I think Jauan Jennings, of some of these names we talked about recently, is one of the better schematic fits for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if I want to, again, give up more draft picks. Is it mortgaging the future? Is it giving up too many future assets? And on top of that, do I want to pay this person $20 million per year for probably at least 3 or 4 more seasons? And to me, I would do it for like a 3rd or 4th round pick. That's where 4th round pick, I'm like 100% yes, especially if we can, I assume an extension is a part of this. Like he's not going to go somewhere and then see if he likes it and then sign an extension. He's signing on the dotted line the minute the trade is finalized. And so if it's a 4th round pick, I'm good with that. What says you?
No, I think a 4th is where I stay. I don't think he'd go for higher than a 4th. I'd honestly be surprised if Jauan Jennings went for a 3rd. It just doesn't make sense. Like DK is a big splash move, but wide receivers don't go for that type of money. Wide receivers typically don't go for big. George Pickens was a 3rd round pick, and George Pickens is better than Jauan Jennings and cheaper. So therefore, in just the mathematical equation of the NFL, Jauan Jennings costs less. And
there it is.
Yeah, I just think that a 4th is fine. And I'd give up a 4th. I'd give up a 4th for Jauan Jennings if you can, because that's like you're right on the mortgaging the future and like what's the risk that you're willing to take in some of these wide receivers. I don't think that he really kills the future. Does he potentially put a damper in it if he's not good? Yes, but if he's good, it's not a damper. Like it doesn't hinder much going forward because $56 million into your wide receiver room isn't like that's a lot, but in 3 years that's nothing. The Cincinnati Bengals are paying close to 75 for just the 2 of them, and then they got another. They have more on top of that. So, like I just think in a couple of years, what the market's going to reset to, paying Terry McLaurin $32 to $35 million a year might be a little crazy, but paying Jauan Jennings 20 for the next 2 seasons is, very doable. And I think that if he's capable of being your like really reliable wide receiver 2, and then you don't have to worry about it, or you have to worry about it in the sense of like maybe Roman Wilson becomes good and then that takes off the pressure and you don't have to look at a wide receiver next offseason, or maybe Roman Wilson isn't that good and you have to go get a 2nd round wide receiver or a 3rd round wide receiver, but then you have a big 3 and none of them will be, DK's contract will run out when you're signing this next guy and Jauan will already be gone. I just think that it sets yourself up pretty well where it doesn't hurt. So to me, that one makes way more sense than Terry McLaurin. Like if you're the Steelers, he's still an impact guy. Obviously, he's not a Terry McLaurin, but he's still an impact guy. He's a guy that would work well within this offense. He gives you another veteran, reliable set of hands that is a playmaker, and I think could be the bridge guy for a Roman and a Calvin and those guys. And if you're not going to pay a lot for him, it's not bad. Again, like would wide receiver be my next move if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers? No, we've had that conversation, but if they were, again, if Omar called me tomorrow and said, hey, we're making a move for wide receiver, what's your best advice? I'd say, Jauan Jennings isn't a bad call. That isn't a bad name to check in on. And then you kind of, you're taking a risk with anybody, but I think it's a very limited risk for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you think that if they do trade for a wide receiver this offseason, it changes their outlook on next year and adding a wide receiver? Like where in your head does the next star wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers come from?
Ooh, that is such a good question. I don't think the Steelers are thinking next star wide receiver until, really, I don't think 2026 is it's a priority in 2026. I would see it being a priority afterwards. I think because of the contractual sort of security, the long-term stability that is DK Metcalf's contract, they don't need to bring in the next guy immediately. They can afford to and give space to someone like a Roman Wilson, as you were saying, to see if there is anything more to grow into. And they don't have to pressure him or rush him into being the next number 2 or number 1 wide receiver because of it. So I think that also will help if they get the franchise QB in 2026, like we and so many others anticipate them getting. I think having a reliable DK Metcalf will sort of alleviate the burden of having to find the Jamar Chase to the Joe Burrow, for example. So I'm thinking 2027 draft and beyond is where the focus really comes in, because then you have the final years of DK Metcalf, and then you have hopefully a second year franchise quarterback kind of coming into his own, can sort of take control of the offense. That to me sounds like the ideal time to bring in your next star wide receiver, and hopefully it's someone maybe a first round pick in 2027, let's say.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I'm a year earlier than you. I think I'm 26. To me, you have Calvin and Roman. If they work out, awesome. But if not, like, it doesn't make sense not to go into 26 with a franchise quarterback and then a hole at wide receiver. So you're going to add somebody somewhere. And I think the NFL draft is a good place to be. Now, this whole like Houston Texans blowing up the wide receiver market and making things really weird for second round picks could certainly change things. But if there's a guy out there that makes sense, and I don't know what the wide receiver market looks like, a year in advance, but if there's a guy that makes sense, I think to bring him in with your franchise guy, I mean, like, you have a duo for 4 years that you'd feel pretty okay about. And I think it opens the door to be like, okay, DK could be moved in 2 years, or, Roman could be moved, or, any of that. But again, I think Roman plays the biggest factor here, because if Roman's good, you could push this thing back, and you don't have to stress about adding a wide receiver because you have wide receivers. And let's not act like Roman's not a third round pick. Like, Roman's a guy that when he came in, people had expectations that he would solve the wide receiver room. We haven't seen if he's capable of doing that. We have to see if he's capable of doing that. But I think that is on the board for sure. For sure. All right, let's finish it off with Kaboli. Good old Kaboom made it known that there's a lot of noise out there. Adam Schefter said the other day that the Pittsburgh Steelers are done. They're not adding to their roster. We said that's nonsense. Kaboli said the same thing. He was on 93.7 The Fans, the morning show, and said, quote, I would think that that's number one on their list, referring to safety. I'm not saying I'm not a Juan Thornhill believer, but they based their whole organization on having competition. And where's the competition at for a guy that nobody wanted last year, who had a bad season for the Cleveland Browns? Different from what me and you've said, but also a little bit of the same. But it is a really good reminder for anybody sitting around thinking that the Pittsburgh Steelers are done. It just doesn't make sense in my head. If you are the Pittsburgh Steelers and you have put all this work in and you have done crazy things that nobody saw coming, and you have created a different roster in a way that no one would have predicted 4 months ago, and then you just stop with a glaring hole at safety, glaring hole at wide receiver with options, different. Glaring hole at wide receiver with literally nobody on your roster to fill it. The equation is not there. It does not add up at all. And I just don't think there is a world where the Steelers are just sitting around going, we've done it. Good job. This is it. This is what we're looking at. I just, Kaboli's right, a different way on this. Do you think that they're looking, when they looked at a safety, because we're pretty sure they're going to, that it will be viewed as competition for Juan Thornhill? Or do you think that they may bring somebody in to start or be a backup?
I think regardless of what the actual intention of the Steelers, of Mike Tomlin is, or his assessment of the players, they will advertise it as a sort of open competition for the starting safety spot with Juan Thornhill. I think it's more likely that they bring in a safety who will assume the starting position and sort of supplant Juan Thornhill in this like interim starting role he's been put in since the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. So I think that they are more likely to go out and get someone who will be a starter. But I think until training camp is over, we will continue to hear, excuse me, something along the lines of like, this is an open competition for the starting safety position.
Yeah, I agree. And that's where they need, like, do you think Justin Simmons signs with the Pittsburgh Steelers and you say that and he gets pissed off? Do you think you could tell Justin Simmons that he's coming into Pittsburgh to compete for the starting job with Juan Thornhill?
Maybe. I think there's a possibility of it. I don't know. I don't know if the holdup in Justin Simmons signing a contract is strictly because he needs a guarantee of being a starter, or if it's because he hasn't found the right fit, or, whatever the combination is, I'm not 100% sure of. But I think at this point, we are, 2 weeks, not even a week away from Steelers opening training camp. Teams are already opening their camps. A week from tomorrow. Look at that. Look at that. That is an incredible reminder. Thank you.
Dude, 6 more days till the beard's gone. Cannot wait. Got called into a last minute, and I'm talking last minute business meeting today, where it was just like, hey, need you to jump on this call in like 8 minutes. And I was like, all right, yeah, great. And I got on, and the first thing, the guy who texted me was also on the call, and he's like, I jumped on. He's like, dude, your beard's filling up the whole camera. I'm like, you got me on the wrong time. You got to ask me next Tuesday. It's the off-season beard, man. I'm not getting a haircut the week before training camp. It's just not happening.
It just can't happen. It just cannot happen. Babyface Strack doesn't return until training camp does, and that is just the way it will be. What were we saying right before that?
You were talking about Juan Thornhill and a competition here with Justin Simmons and why he may have not signed yet.
Thank you. I think you can tell him that this could be a competition, because if he had all of the leverage in terms of going to the next organization, he would have already signed, and he would be in an organization where he can either secure or have a very easy road to being the starting safety. That hasn't happened yet. So that tells me that there are not enough organizations willing to offer him what he's looking for, either in compensation or playing time. Since he doesn't hold a ton of leverage, I think you can be like, look, we'll bring you in. We want you to be the starter, but we also got Juan Thornhill, who's another veteran that we really like, and he's a very hard worker. So we want to see if either one of you just kind of fits better. We think you'll be the starter, but, we can't guarantee it. And if he doesn't want to do that, then he can just keep waiting to sign a contract, as he's been doing all summer long. So I think the ball is, it's in his court, but he has no leverage. So it's a tough one for him. I really do feel for him in terms of being such an accomplished veteran. But at this point, it's like, you got to just pick a team.
I agree. I could see Mike Tomlin going, yeah, we're going to have a competition for you and Juan Thornhill, and claiming all summer it's a competition, but Justin Simmons, holds the pole position in Pittsburgh. And I think that's the way to go about it, because I think that doesn't piss anybody off, keeps Juan Thornhill's head high. And at the same time, like, it's like when they signed Levi Wallace and Mike Tomlin's like, how important that third safety or corner is, pretty much a starter anyways. No, he's not. But, whatever's got to get said. I agree. I think that, you could look at Justin Simmons as a guy that can come in here with competition, expect him to win it. He'll expect to win it. And then, you go from there. But I do think that's a real possibility for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I do think it's very much so on the table. All right. That's everything on our agenda. With that said, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we're going to start answering all your questions. So toss them in the chat. With that said, we will be right back.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind All Steelers Talk comes Black and Gold Apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to all of our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Can't thank you guys enough. Make sure that you're calling into tomorrow's call-in show. We'll record it, or I'll record it quite early. So make sure you're giving it a call in. And one more time, as a reminder, tomorrow's show will be pre-recorded, but it'll still drop at 4 p.m. So don't get mad when, we aren't live at 4 p.m. Got a pretty cool interview that we're excited to share with you guys for sure. We're going to kick it off with Hurt at practice. 16 days and 3.5 hours ticking down. Let's go. It's crazy. I can't tell you how excited I am. I was talking to Nick Fairbaugh, Penn Live, the other day, and we were just, can't believe it's here. Like, doesn't feel real almost. And, you get every year you get like it feels less and less real. It's like the first day of school. Like when you're in 6th grade, 7th grade, it's like, yo, 4 days till the first day of school. This is insane. And then you get into high school and it's like, shit, school's tomorrow? What? I totally forgot. That's kind of where we're at. And then Wednesday morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to be, the breakfast is going to taste better. The sun's going to be shining a little bit brighter. It's probably going to be raining in Pittsburgh, but it'll be a brighter rain. You know, the water will taste better. The coffee will hit harder. It'll be a great morning. I'm pumped, man. What's the one thing you're looking forward to at training camp?
Oh, I am looking forward to more than anything hearing what music choices we hear during practice sessions and maybe in the locker room, because I was quite impressed when I was there during mini camp what the boys were bumping to.
I will say that there is music on the field. The training, you don't get in the locker room at training camp because everybody's on the field, but there is the music and it is a good time. I still remember the days when Ben Roethlisberger was like, I remember the days. I've seen a video of, I don't remember who it was. I couldn't tell you, but they were playing music in the locker room. Troy Polamalu walks over and just shuts the radio off and walks away. And nobody says a word to him. They just go on their day like nothing happened, because at one point in time, the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, you weren't playing music at practice, in the locker room, nowhere. It was all business all the time. That's a real thing. It's definitely a real thing. Chris here. Hypothetical here, so let's have fun with it. If we traded Watt to Houston for Nico Collins, would we have to send draft picks, and would he fit here? I don't think you'd send draft picks. I think it would work out a 1-for-1 there. I think you'd lose that trade, to be honest. I think TJ is a better player than Nico Collins. I also think the Steelers would get worse if they got rid of TJ for Nico Collins. It's the same thing as like Nico or TJ for Terry McLaurin, TJ for all these guys. Like, go back and watch 2017 to 2022 or whatever, whenever Ben, 2021, whenever Ben retired, and look at how good that offense is and how bad that defense is. And then, or even beforehand, you know, you could go 20 whenever. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a defense, you don't have a team. You know, your team's not good. And that's what that era showed us, is you could have the best offense in football. If you got to score 40 points a game and you can't do it the one time in the playoffs, you've lost. And I just don't think that's, you know, I would trust a team to go score 14 points to have to pull it off with anybody at quarterback than I would having the best offense have to score 45 in the playoffs 3 times to get to the Super Bowl. I just don't think it works out.
Yeah, I like Nico Collins. I really do. I don't think there is anything about this 1-for-1 trade, which I would agree it would be a 1-for-1 trade, that does the Steelers any favors. I'll take a team on paper that has a better defense and a defensive player of the year over 2 really gifted and talented, maybe even star wide receivers on offense. I just think one of those options is better for a championship. And I know the criticism or the argument against that is, well, TJ has no championships, but I'm not necessarily saying just him only, but like the formula of having a defensive player of the year to fill out your defense is likely a better route to winning a championship than having 2 playmaking wide receivers, in my opinion.
I agree. I always agree. And there are questions, and we'll add on to them. Maddie's got a hot take. Hot take Tuesday. We trade TJ for Terry, and we actually do well this season. Definitely a hot take. Look, I think they do just fine. But if you end up playing Lamar Jackson and they put up 40 points and you can't score 40 points for whatever reason, it's because you got rid of your defensive star. And like at the end of the day, that's just what happens. So you can't. It's a risk reward system always. And I just, in my head, in my opinion, which everybody's allowed to have their own, I don't see it working out. I just don't see it working out. And you know, you could add on to this with Cody here. DK goes down. DK goes down. You guys are cool with Calvin being wide receiver 1. Pickens got injured last year, and we lost 6 games in a row back to back to back. George Pickens getting hurt, it was not the only reason the Steelers lost 6 games in a row. But I hear the argument, but the argument on the other side is, again, like maybe the Steelers don't have the best wide receiver too, and maybe they need to upgrade the position. I'm not arguing that. It's the length at which they should go to fill that hole. You know, there are different degrees, and I don't think trading TJ Watt or making some giant splash incredible trade for Terry McLaurin are your only options and the best options for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I'm not happy with the hypothetical scenario of DK Metcalf not being available and Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson and company being the top options. It's not good enough. There's no real argument to be made in favor of that until we see something different on the football field. I'm totally with you, Cody, as far as that's concerned. I just think that, I agree with Noah in the sense that the Steelers will be better served in the long run to upgrade these other positions of need first, and then address the wide receiver position, because you can get similar level production for what the Steelers need to do out of less expensive options, out of more unpredictable, unexpected options at wide receiver. I would rather hedge my bets on that, or place my bets on that, and go out and get a proven commodity at safety, beef up the offensive line or whatever, and then address the wide receiver position. So that's just, I know you disagree, Cody, and I respect it. I do. I just don't see it that way.
Yeah. Chris here. Guys, Florida State runs a 3 tight end spread offense. Is there a chance we use a 3 tight end set mainly? And would this reduce the need to trade for a wide receiver? Yeah, that their plan right now is to run not even 3 tight ends, but just 2 tight ends all the time. Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth on the field constantly. And I don't think that doesn't work. Do I think that's the best option? No, I think that you could upgrade more and have more superpower there. But I also don't think that that's the worst offense in the world. And I do expect 2 tight ends to be on the field quite a bit for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, agreed. I would be fine with them running 3 tight end sets if they had 3 tight ends that they really truly believed in. I think Darnell Washington is awesome as a complementary piece. I wouldn't feel as comfortable with him being on the field for 100% of the snaps, for example.
No.
I don't think that guarantees a better offensive performance for the Steelers in any regard, unless Darnell Washington is suddenly thrust into the starting offensive tackle position, which then I would be like, oh, okay, yeah, he might actually be pretty good at that. But aside from that, I think the 2 tight end set is going to be what maximizes this Arthur Smith offense. And I think Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth are going to hopefully put up, wide receiver 2-ish numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I think they have potential too. I do think they have potential too. Shout out to Papaya Salad here, becoming a member. Make sure you are calling into the show. Love the show. Like my salad, spicy. Steelers for life. My guy, that was
like
awesome.
My salad,
spicy, dude. Spicy.
That's awesome.
Maddie, also Noah, go ahead and create your account. We need 2 more people after Noah and Jake. Did you join already? Did you join the fantasy league?
Oh yeah.
Word. Yeah. I saw that she posted another one. Need 2 more people plus Noah for fantasy. Also, when do you want to draft Noah and Jacob? Wednesday, July 23rd at 7. I'm a post preseason draft guy. I think if you draft before anything else, it turns into a complete shit show where everybody's getting injured, trades are happening. You have my fantasy draft happens the Monday before week 1. I'm a after. Do you feel different? I'm a late August guy.
Yeah, I think that does erase, I guess, injuries that will happen in preseason. But yeah, I mean, whatever's easiest for people.
I could care less. Whenever anybody wants to draft, for sure.
I
mean, my team's going to suck either way. I say it every year. I'm the worst fantasy football player alive. I just don't know why, but people email me all the time. And they're like, yo, can I get some fantasy advice here? And I give them the same warning I give everybody else. Yeah, here you go. But I'm telling you, I'm 1-7. So
this is bad. It's bad advice.
You take what you want. But I have a buddy who texts me every single week and does the exact opposite of what I say. And I know he's doing it, and I still give him honest advice. And he's
baiting you
every time, every single time. And this guy also sucks at fantasy football. and my advice works out most times. So,
sometimes fading, the right person can yield some nice results. Let's just say when I was at my cousin's bachelor party, I might have made a nice chunk of change fading what the entire group had decided to bet on. And I might have bet the opposite and won some money because of it. So sometimes going against the grain is worth it, folks. That's the lesson there.
Be a scumbag to your friends. That's what Jacob just taught us. Be a scumbag to your friends.
It's not my fault that they didn't see it as clearly as I did. What can you do?
Nothing. You won the money. Enigma After Dark. Could we honestly acquire Terry McLaurin without mortgaging the future? I don't think so. I think it would be very difficult to not make Terry McLaurin a key piece to your future and a hefty financial piece to your future, which brings up Nate's question here. If they were to acquire him, would they be looking to extend him immediately? My answer to this would be yes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think a trade gets done unless there is an extension in place as well.
Yeah, I have a hard time thinking Terry's going to want to go somewhere. If he's frustrated in Washington because he's not getting a deal, I don't think teams are going to we'll sign him next year. He's going to be like, oh yeah, send me there. Aaron Rodgers over Jaden Daniels? Easy choice. No, I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't think so. I hear what you're saying, but the answer is probably yes, that they will need to sign him immediately. Maddie, once again, do you guys think that the Steelers overpaid for DK Metcalf?
No, I don't. I don't think they overpaid in trade package or trade return for him. I think that was pretty fair. I think is it a lot of money? Yes. And I am, I'm bullish on, or skeptical, I think is probably a better word, of how much money to invest in offensive pieces outside of the quarterback and like offensive line pieces. So it's hard for me to not kind of think they overpaid for DK Metcalf. But when you look at the market of wide receivers, where you look at where he stands amongst the elite at his position, I would say he deserves to be within, the top 10 of top 15 at the worst of wide receivers. And so his rate's commensurate with that sort of evaluation. So I don't think we overpaid. It's just a lot of money for top wide receivers these days,
Yeah, I agree. And I think in a couple of years, $28 million for a guy is not going to be that much money. I think that's what you'll be paying wide receiver twos. And I think that the Steelers are going to be in an okay spot. Plus, I get it. I do get that DK had a bad year and wasn't the guy in Seattle last year, but I'm so high on DK Metcalf. I don't think DK is a guy that stinks. I think that DK is a guy that was in a system that was too crowded with a quarterback who wasn't good enough to get him the ball. That's how, and maybe that's Aaron Rodgers, but there is no crowded room in Pittsburgh, and I think that's going to benefit him. So we'll see. Chris has a good one here. Jacob, Washington moving to left tackle might work. Jim Wexell, the legendary Jim Wexell. Yeah, fantastic human being. Has been pushing this narrative since literally the second Darnell got drafted. He asked the question of if he could play left tackle after he got drafted on draft night to Alfredo Roberts. Was like, do you think he could play left tackle? I'm like, that's the tight ends coach. He's going to play tight end, Jim. I mean, he is a tackle, man. He'd be one massive left tackle. If tight end doesn't work out, I could see that actually being a thing. I don't think the Steelers would view him there, though.
Yeah, unfortunately not. I think he's pretty cemented into being a tight end here. But I mean, hey, there are multiple examples of players not working out in certain positions, coming back as a lineman and having great success. Alejandro Villanueva is a great example for the Steelers.
Yes,
so
exactly.
it's certainly possible that could happen. The dude is a monster. He is a behemoth of a human. It is absurd to think that people are that big and that they are that athletic. It's just, if you ever see me in public, you'll be like, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's what we're supposed to be like, right? And then you see these NFL athletes and you're like, this is unbelievable. I don't understand how we're the same.
I agree. I tell people that I think so too. I think he'd be a pretty good tackle, to be honest. Yeah. And I think that, you enter year 4, he doesn't have much playing time. You're clearly ready to move on at tight end. Maybe give him a shot. Maybe see what happens, maybe test the waters there. I tell everybody that Darnell Washington's head is probably the same size as my entire body. So freakish human being. Absolutely freakish human being. Bernard here. Do y'all think Rodgers is a good teammate? Yeah, from everything I've heard, both Pittsburgh, New York. I don't know many people from Green Bay, but he is a phenomenal teammate. And I honestly, outside of Mike Williams, have never heard anybody teammate wise complain about Aaron Rodgers. So the answer to this is yes. Does he cause distractions? Certainly. Maybe I don't know much about him, to be honest. I have a hard time reading the guy, and I'm excited to try to figure it out over the next year. But I have heard that Aaron Rodgers is a super good teammate, and a great leader within an organization.
Yeah, I've certainly have made my own assumptions and judgments about Aaron Rodgers, like as a person or whatever. But like, I, from all accounts, from everything that I have heard, everything that I have seen and read from the Steelers since they have signed Aaron Rodgers, and that is all that I can speak on as someone who talks about the Steelers, is that he's been a great teammate. He has come in. He has been a very helpful hand to the rookies. Will Howard spoke very highly, almost like excitedly, in like a freshman wanting to hang out with like the seniors kind of way, where he was like, "I'm pumped for this guy to mentor me," like sort of thing. I want to stick onto him and kind of just learn from him and be in the room next to him. So I think that was one example of him being a great teammate. We talked about the wide receiver group going out to Maui to spend some time with him. I think that is another sign. I know it's something he has done before, but it is a way of him getting building camaraderie, like getting to know his teammates, sort of getting to know how they interact on the field, things like that. It is a huge boost, and I think that builds the teammate relationship as well. So from all accounts, it seems like he has been nothing but a great teammate for the Pittsburgh Steelers since they signed him. And if that changes, we'll talk about it, but it doesn't seem like he's a bad teammate in Pittsburgh. And maybe he's just a different person at age 41 than he was with Green Bay, with the New York Jets. Of course, it's possible. He might have just be like, this is my last year. I'm just trying to be a very chill version of Aaron Rodgers. This is good for the soul. But also, there's not a ton of horror stories about him as a teammate. The horror stories are about him off the field, or like how he interacts with media or something like that. So
yeah, he hates the media, but I have and I think he's got warrant to hate the media.
Most professional athletes do.
Yeah, I think few more than Aaron. I honestly, since he's shown up, it's kind of clicked. The circus that is always around Aaron Rodgers is pretty nuts. And does he do a lot of it to himself? Yeah, I truly think so. But I think it's nuts. I mean, you could go back to the golden days of Green Bay, and there's videos of him riding around in the back of the truck with David Bakhtiari and all those guys having a good time in Wisconsin.
Right.
So I think he's always been a great teammate. That's not something honestly that worries me. Nate Moore, is Jauan Jennings even a good fit for us right now? I feel like Pat Freiermuth plays his role better. I think, and maybe I'm wrong here, that I think Jauan Jennings can move to the outside and be pretty okay. I don't think he plays the Deontay Johnson X role that the Steelers really need right now. I think you'd have to figure that out. I don't think they have anybody to play that role right now, because I don't think Roman's a route runner that's strong enough. I don't think Roman's strong suit is his route running. I think that's always been his weak spot. And that's what you need in an X, at least in Pittsburgh. But I just think they'd have to change everything. But I do think Jauan could play on the outside.
Yeah, I think he could. I think I would prefer him being on the inside primarily.
Yeah. Me too.
I don't. Yes, I think Pat Freiermuth is excellent on the inside, and those routes across the middle and stuff like that. Yes, he's a great tight end. I think Jauan Jennings just he has a little bit more quickness. He's a little bit more explosive, and he also gives you some of that run blocking qualities that you want out of wide receivers, and that you're not sure you're going to get out of some of these players coming into camp for competition. So yes, I see the similarities that you're pointing out here, Nate. But I think Jauan Jennings is just a better overall playmaker, especially for that area of need on the field.
Yeah, I agree. Nate's got one in here that I do want to touch on that I just accidentally unstarred, but we'll try to find it super fast. And it is very simple. I think it's gone. I think it's gone.
No,
Did you watch the season finale of Love Island, and what'd you think of the results?
Oh, no, I did not. My wife and I tried. We earnestly tried to watch the first episode of this new season. Made it about 15 minutes in.
Yeah.
Both of us were like, is there anything about this show that we like besides all of these attractive people? And we both were like, no, we're not really entertained. And so
Yes.
we turned it off. TikTok is a buzz with it. So like we were like, we had to try it, but no, we missed it. I will say, I'll throw this up. You know what my wife and I have watched? Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And if you're going to watch a reality show that is just mind-numbingly entertaining and you're like, there's no way this could be entertaining, let me tell you, these crazy Mormon wives will just friggin' knock your socks off for an evening, okay? But no, Miss Love Island. Do you watch Love Island? You and the wife, you watch
No,
it?
no. I don't watch any of those stupid shows. They bother me. Like they do. They like that one, Too Hot to Handle. The one where you're like hidden behind the door for a week and then you're supposed to fall in love forever.
Oh,
like
it's incredible.
Yeah, Temptation Island. I watched one episode of that and I was just like, this is just people trying to get people to cheat on their significant others. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I can't. They all piss me off. Like I get like my therapist has described me in the past as a shaken soda bottle that is just waiting to explode. And when I watch these, I think my wife could look over and see that I'm starting to like ooze out a little bit. And she's got to be like, all right, let's turn them off. Yeah. Wow. And then I just look at them and go, you're stupid. Stop being dumb. Stop. It bothers me, man. So,
no. I think where you and I are a little bit different is like there's a part of me that really wants to judge people. And maybe that's apparent just in how I speak.
No, I think that's normal people.
Yeah, so when I see this stuff like Love is Blind, I'm like, he thinks he loves this girl, hasn't even talked to her in person yet, idiot. You know,
dude, that's the part. Like I watched one episode of that and they like matched or whatever, and then they met and the girl was like, he's really not that attractive. I'm like, who would have thought that physical attraction is a part of a relationship that should be important? Like who would have thought that? Like, it does, dude. It bothers me. They all get me, man. Nate, I hope you enjoyed it, my friend. I hope you enjoyed it. Papaya salad. Why wouldn't the Steelers give TJ $120 million for 3 years, a fourth team option for $40 million per year, first 2 years guaranteed? They would give him this. That's the holdup with TJ Watt. TJ Watt wants 5 years, $41 million a year minimum, first 3 years of his deal guaranteed. And the Steelers are trying very hard not to give him that. So that's the holdup. The Steelers would do this deal. TJ won't take this deal. TJ wants a 5-year deal for an average of $41+ million a year and 3 years guaranteed. The third year would be his year 33 season. And I think that comes with a lot of complications. But that's the biggest holdup with the Steelers where we sit today. Heard of practice. Oh, go ahead. You got thoughts?
No, I was going to say $41 million a year, first 3 years guaranteed, $123 million, same as
Myles Garrett's
guaranteed.
He'd want 124. He'd want 124. Heard of practice. Must watch Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Great show. See, this is the television I watch. It's about Skinwalker. It's about like ghosts. Yeah, that like come and kill the cows and stuff. It's crazy. I have watched this actually. That's what I watch. I'm like a wild documentary guy. You know, like you'll watch it, you'll be like, no, what are you watching? Oh, the secrets of like the tomb deaths or something. You know what I mean? Like I'm like real into like there was one the other day that I watched like I turned it on at like 8:00 and Jillian walked in the room and she's like, I don't want to watch this. This is dumb. It was like the Tylenol killer or something.
Oh,
like, yeah,
that's
dude,
cool. Like
bad
when the
batch
people put stuff in the Tylenol. Yeah.
Made me think, man. Don't be taking. And I take Tylenol like there's no tomorrow. Like there's no tomorrow. Oh yeah. Also, shout out to everybody who's been sending me our regimens for headaches. Appreciate you. Can't tell you guys how much I appreciate you guys. I've been trying them. I found one that I think works. Some B2 and some magnesium. We're headache free for over a week now. So we're getting there.
That's fantastic, dude. For real. Like it
does. Feels good. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And a great timing too, because I just realized that Tylenol could kill you. So you never know. Cody, do you think the offense can be positive and score if the defense gets chalked up like the Colts Cowboys game last year? Yeah, I do think that there's potential. I really do. I also think that the defense last year wasn't that great. Like, you had so many holes. Dante Jackson is not Darius Slay and Jalen Ramsey. Minka's good, but like, I don't know, like, was Minka the greatest? Larry Ogunjobi was a massive hole on that defense. And now you replace them with Derek Harmon. That's huge. Peyton Wilson taking a step forward. Who cares about Patrick Queen? Peyton Wilson taking a step forward. That's significant. Like, I just think the defense is so much better than they were a year ago. So I have less worry about that. But I do think that the offense could hold their own in games. Do I think they're a 40-point a team game? No. Do I think that they could score 35 points if needed? Yeah, I do think that could happen.
I think that will happen a little bit more than it has in the past few years for sure. I think the offense alone, just by virtue of having Aaron Rodgers and Zach Frazier as a second-year center, are a better offense than the team was in 2024. Those are just two very tangible reasons why they will improve in the upcoming season. I don't think this offense, as currently constructed, even with, an addition at the wide receiver 2 position, will be some sort of game breaking offense. They're never going to be the greatest show on turf or anything like that. I just think there is a lower ceiling for what this offense can do by virtue of the fact that they are improved over 2024 by having Aaron Rodgers. I think there is a ceiling because there is a 41-year-old quarterback under center with a bunch of new pieces trying to mesh together. I think the defense should be better, but I think this concern that I think maybe I'll echo from Cody here is that there's so much hype around these defenses for the past couple of years going into this season.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear in retrospect, man, they just weren't that good last year. Cause it's like, man, the hype was so big going into the 2024 season of this is another big year for this defense, top 5 finishing across the board. And for them to underwhelm again, I think that kind of leaves some doubt or some room for it going into 2025 again, especially while TJ Watt remains unsigned. So I get the concern for sure. And I think it's something that will continue to be there until it is proven wrong in the season.
I agree. Offensive line decides all of it. At the end of the day, we could talk wide receivers all day long. If the offensive line's good and you can run the football, you'll win way more games than you expect every single time. That's how the Colts did it to the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. It's exactly how it happened. Chris here. Guys, is it possible to have Jonnu be a big wide receiver too? I think that's kind of the Steelers' expectations right now. Is Jonnu Smith, Calvin Austin, Pat Freiermuth, they're combining to be wide receiver 2. And do I think that's enough? I don't know. I think there's I don't know. I can't say yes. I could say I'm open to the possibility, but yes cannot come out of my mouth.
Agreed. I really like Jonnu Smith. I don't see him as a wide receiver 2. I just, regardless of if they move him out wide and shift him all across the line and find all of these creative ways to use him, he's still just a versatile tight end to me. And if that sounds like diminishing his skill set, it's not to be that. It's just that the position of wide receiver 2, what that brings to an offense is just not what Jonnu Smith will bring to the Steelers offense in 2025, even if he is a very productive player. I think having 2 very skilled tight ends who can do a lot of different things and be utilized in different packages and formations will only help the offense, but they still need a wide receiver 2. And I don't think Jonnu Smith, as talented as he is, and as much as Arthur Smith likes him, fills that role adequately for the Steelers. But I also agree with Noah. I don't think they're going to do anything else about it anytime soon.
No, I'm keeping it trucking here. Heard at practice, AB was just a guy until he hit the field. I have a strong feeling Austin and Roman will fill the other wide receiver position, and we don't need another. Thoughts? That's the Steelers' plan. That's what my thought is the Steelers are going into training camp, and if they do not make a move, their plan is clear as day that Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson will get their opportunity to show themselves. And, I mean, you're not going to have all a training camp to do so. You're going to have a short amount of time to prove that you are that guy. I don't think I would ever compare Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin to Antonio Brown. Generational talent. There are a lot of people that aren't good. But I do that's the Steelers' plan. The Steelers' plan right now where we sit is hopefully these guys work out and Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth are studs. And that's our receiving game. And I think that's that's enough for where we stand currently.
Yeah, I think it's just that this is the time to be optimistic. Like, I think if we were heading into training camp, in a week and just being like, there's just no chance Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson are going to do a damn thing for the Steelers this year.
Yeah,
that's just pretty defeatist, especially when we talk about them being around the Super Bowl contention conversation. So,
yes,
yeah, I think they can be better. And I think there's the Steelers' track record of finding talent deeper in drafts and throughout the draft at wide receiver suggests that they will find more success the further into their careers they are.
I agree. Irresistible fan here. Why are the Pittsburgh Steelers focused on building a Super Bowl team and not a Super Bowl dynasty? Does a ring mean anything if it's just players thrown together for a year rather than built for long success? I think the Steelers are doing both, to be honest. They have a young offensive line, a young defense. They've added some veterans, but they've replaced veterans that were going to leave in the same amount of time with veterans that are going to leave in the same amount of time. That may be better. So I think the Steelers' plan really is built for the long term and the right now. And I honestly think they've done it pretty well. Like I do. I think it's a weird plan. I think at times it was super confusing about what they were doing, but they have built a team that is built to win right now and hopefully built to win next year and the year after that. And I think I think a dynasty is what they're looking to do. And I think, would I bank on it? No chance. But do I think that they've set themselves up for an opportunity? Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think every team hopes to accomplish that. I think there's a few pieces that feel like they could be a part of a championship team in 2025 as well as in 2027 or 2029. I think of players like Zach Frazier again. I think of Troy Fautanu. I think of Joey Porter Jr. I think of like a few building blocks that Caleb Johnson, Pat Fryermuth. Yeah, like there's building blocks here that can be around not just for this year, but for another championship run in a couple of years, hypothetically. Yeah. The building towards a dynasty doesn't become very realistic or feel very real to me until that quarterback is in place. And then because to use the Chiefs as the example, so many pieces have moved all around Pat Mahomes, and he's the constant, and he is the reason that they have become a dynasty. And I'm not saying it's only Patrick Mahomes or bust, or you can't do anything else or have any success in the NFL, but the pieces can be there, but they will never culminate. They will not all mix. They will not all blend without that quarterback mixing the pot together.
That's exactly. Nobody at the end of the day in the NFL, everybody's trying to build a dynasty and fails until you get the guy that makes it a dynasty. And the Steelers got to find that guy. I agree with you. That's a great point. Pittsburgh Hornets. I think Rodgers should be introduced to the Steelers with lights out playing the Dark Knight Rise or the Dark Knight Bane Darkness monologue. I think it would be so awesome. And I am in full support of this movement. Pittsburgh Hornets, full support. Lindsay,
I was born.
That was so awesome. Lindsay, are you scared to ask Aaron Rodgers questions? Not a chance. I've given my scary James Harrison, TJ Watt, people getting Casey Hampton almost made me tear up and piss myself at the same time in the Steelers locker room at the time. Because he got actually mad at me to the point where he had to come up afterwards and be like, yo, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't mean to get that heated. Robert Spillane's freaked out at me in the past. We've told that story many times on here. No, guys don't scare me anymore. You know what I mean? Like if death by football player is what happens, then that's a pretty cool way to go out. It's
a great way to go.
Yeah, there's legend. That's a legend, unless it was somebody, you know what I mean? Like you could go out by a practice squad guy, embarrassing, but like it wouldn't sad. And like,
do you hear about Noah? He got Chris Oladukin just messed him up.
Two-time Super Bowl champion. Let's be respectful here.
Right, exactly.
That's a stud right there. You know what I mean? But like, I don't even just some guy you never heard of. Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be that bad. No. There's literally nobody in the NFL I'm nervous to ask questions to at this point. My thing is I try not to ask dumb questions, and I think it leads to better results. I'm not just asking questions to ask questions. There's got to be a purpose. Otherwise, I'm not wasting your time, and I won't have you waste mine. That's how I feel. Pittsburgh Hornets. Oh, we already did this one. Sorry. Enigma After Dark. At wide receiver, do we focus on chemistry with Aaron Rodgers or fit for the future beside DK Metcalf? Are the two factors parallel? How do you decide who to add to the wide receiver room with so many options available? This is a great question, and I think you could do both. I think that you build an offense for a guy that works well next to DK Metcalf and could work well with Aaron Rodgers. But I think the glory of Aaron Rodgers is I think most people would work well with Aaron Rodgers. I just don't think that. I think Aaron's worked with all kinds of wide receivers. He's had success with all kinds of wide receivers. And I think that you could develop that. Plus, good wide receiver, quarterback could find you. That's the rule of thumb. A good wide receiver makes a quarterback better. And I think that if you get good ones, I think they're parallel. I think my answer is the two factors are parallel.
Yeah, I think they certainly can be. And my only addition to this is if you have to choose one, I think the more important thing for right now is to find someone that has chemistry or Aaron Rodgers would feel can establish that chemistry. Just because the team's all in 2025 right now and winning a Super Bowl this upcoming season. So if you're debating like, oh, do we pick this guy who we don't think could maybe help us right this minute, but has the tools and the capabilities to be the pair to DK Metcalf beyond 2025, I think you have to go the other way and just find someone that would come in and find some quick and immediate chemistry with Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree. Pittsburgh Hornets here. Do you see Tomlin making quicker adjustments on defense? I think we're going to see. I honestly don't have any change in expectation for Mike Tomlin because there's no reason to. His teams might be better on paper, but that doesn't mean he's better at the end of the day. You feel different?
No, I don't. I think this is another symptom, repercussion, consequence of the stubbornness of Mike Tomlin. Like he doesn't do it. Like he he's just like, yeah, we're gonna go back and we're gonna prepare for the next week, and it's like, oh, okay. Do you think you should have like not run zone all second half or something like that after you got beat all first half? Just like doesn't enter into the equation. Because Steelers are dogs and they have to assert their game. So
even though they don't, and it doesn't work. I agree. Yeah, I agree. Heard of practice. Have you ever witnessed one of TJ's epic speeches before a game? No, I've never witnessed a pregame speech for the Pittsburgh Steelers. No, very few media people have. I think way back in the day you were able to, but I'm not in the locker room beforehand. Neither is anybody else, but I have heard they are crazy. Like I've heard TJ's just like stood up and whipped his helmet across the locker room and then just started giving like a speech that make you want to run through a wall. I'm telling you, man, if you could sit down with like 3 Pittsburgh Steelers that have been around for the last couple of years with TJ Watt and just have them talk to you about who TJ Watt is as a person, a player, and a teammate, you would never, ever, ever say get rid of him. It would never come out of your mouth because I'm telling you, the guy is. But no, I've never gotten to witness a pregame speech, unfortunately. And,
would love to.
Oh, it'd be epic. Let's finish it off with Purple Yeti Pack here. Hey, Noah and Jake, thanks for the streams as always. What do you guys think of the silver lining of signing or trading for DK, being that we also don't have a second round pick that's refusing to sign? This has been a topic of conversation within the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last couple of days. There are 30 of 32 second round picks not signed. One of them signed a fully guaranteed deal in the Houston Texans, which have sent the NFL into complete shock because now everybody wants a second round pick. Shamar Stewart's going back to the college football. Maybe it's a shit show, for lack of a better term. Is this a silver lining? Is it a thing that you can look at and say, well, could have been worse.
Not only is it a silver lining, it's a blessing in disguise because the Steelers don't have to have any hand in shaping how this goes. They can just absorb the information, be like, okay, I guess either second round picks are getting fully guaranteed contracts or not, or whatever outcome happens with all of these second round picks being unsigned. They get to absorb all of that, see how it goes, see how the league plays out. And then for 2026, they'll know exactly what to do or not do in terms of going about a second round pick. So yeah, silver lining, I think, is a great way to put it. I think you can even be a little bit more complimentary and call it a blessing in disguise because I think it just helps the Steelers for next year.
I agree. And papaya salad here. Why don't the Steelers play a 4-3 with the edge? Got all to gain, can't run, and can't chip TJ. The Steelers are they just don't change, man. They are a 3-4 defense. They'll be a 3-4 defense. At the end of the day, though, the Steelers rarely play their base package anymore. They are almost always in a sub package. So I don't think it would change a whole ton. I do think it would allow you to do things like make trades for guys that aren't TJ Watt capable. Like you're looking for another TJ when you could be looking for a Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Will Anderson type guy who plays a different role. I think it helped DeMarvin Leal. Like I do think there's way more options out there for an edge rusher. If you ran a 4-3, the Steelers wouldn't, man. And it's just Mike Tomlin. At the end of the day, it's just Mike Tomlin's defense. That's what he does.
Correct. Did you not hear me 2 minutes ago? The boy's stubborn.
It's true.
Yeah. I don't see them ever changing out of a 4-3 into a 4-3 defense if Mike Tomlin is still the head coach of the Steelers. So
yeah,
sorry, papaya salad. No spicy salad for you there, bud.
No. Shout out. All right. With that said, guys, we are heading out here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. And as always, find all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers. Like I said, tomorrow will be a pre-recorded episode that will still drop at 4 p.m. Eastern time. We got a pretty cool interview for you guys. Excited to air it, but I will be rocking out to good old Creed. So we can't be live. I think I'll be at least 3 Can You Take Me hires by the time 4 o'clock rolls around of just bumping. You got a pregame in the shower, Take Me Higher. You got one on the road, and then you got one when you get there. Yeah, we're about there. So we apologize, but we'll be back on Thursday. The call-in show tomorrow morning will still go live at noon, so make sure you're calling into that. As always, shout out to all of our members and our super chatters, and we will be back, well, tomorrow, kind of, but we'll be back on Thursday. Enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.